ולא ידע עד לא ידע
Hello everyone, in this unique year we could say both a Shavua Tov and a happy Purim, whatever's left of it. I think that around the world, most people omitted Tachanun and Lam Natseach this morning simply because in Yerushalayim there's still a glimpse of Purim by doing two mitzvot of the day. Mishloach Manot that we dealt with on Friday, and the last mitzvah of Purim, and that is the Seudah of Purim, where you need to have bread, meat, and wine to get a little tipsy. And like everything regarding a Purim Mishulash, a 3-day Purim, this too is a point of controversy. The Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, says explicitly in Perek Aleph of Masechet Megillah, subdivision 4, that indeed the Seudah of Purim cannot be done on Tetvav, yesterday, on the 15th, for the following reason that we already said. It says in the Megillah you need to make them days of joy, namely the Seudah, and days of feasting, which is also the Seudah, two parts of the Seudah. Mishteh is the food, Simcha probably is the wine. Says the Gemara in Yerushalmi, Et shesimchato tluya bebeitin, yatza zeh shesimchato tluya b'yadei shamayim. In other words, according to you, the Yerushalmi, you cannot combine a Shabbos meal, which its date is determined by God, to Purim, which entire holiday was enacted by the Jewish people from the time of Mordechai and Esther to this very day. In other words, the Seudah of Purim does not combine with the Seudah of Shabbos, because the Seudah of Shabbos has been on the curriculum from the day that God gave the Torah to the Jews, and probably way before, from the creation of the world, versus Purim, which came later, which is an enactment of our sages. You have to keep them separate. And indeed, that's the way the Shulchan Aruch Paskins Mifurash, and that's the way that Rova Poskim Paskin, and I'm pretty sure that's what everyone's going to do. That's the way the Radbaz Paskins when he deals with this question, and that's also the way the Nodeh Yehuda Paskins when he deals with this question. However, Meiri says, very simply, ignoring the Yerushalmi, V'noagim simchat seudah be'oto hayom, that indeed you do it on Tetvav, on Shabbos. There's no violation of Shabbos. So you'll eat chulent, and you'll eat kugel, and maybe you'll eat a special dish, and it will be the Seudah of Purim. And this brings us to the Mahar Blach. The Mahar Blach was the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim 500 years ago, and he writes a fascinating story that I think is beautiful to share with you. He says, I came to the holy city of Jerusalem. There was a new thing in my life, because outside of Israel there's no such thing as Purim on the 15th. And he indeed knows the Yerushalmi, but he says, it's very hard for me to understand in my mind, but I can't just be cholek. I can't disagree with the Yerushalmi just based on my mind. So he goes on and brings different points of view, but his main point of view is as follows. If the Bavli Babylonian Talmud was quiet about this issue, never commented, and the Yerushalmi brings a point of view, it's like a machloket Bavli and Yerushalmi. We usually assume it's not a machloket. Namely, the Yerushalmi said something and the Bavli was quiet. No, he assumes that if the Bavli dealt with Purim coming out on Shabbos and said to read the Megillah already on Friday, and it didn't say a word about the Seudah, that proves that the Bavli basically said, there's no issue, I don't have to comment on it, which means do the Seudah on Shabbos. And ultimately, that's what he did as the chief rabbi, or as a rabbi in Yerushalayim. He did the Seudah on Shabbos. Quite frankly, he's quoted and requoted in various different places, which leads the Pri Chadash to the following point of view. He says, Yesh lachmir v'la'asotah betetvav uve yudvav, which means tetzayin, today, v'chech anu noagim. So the Pri Chadash, who lived in Israel, or maybe in Yerushalayim, basically said, I do 2 days of Seudah. I do it on Shabbos, and I do it on Sunday. What does that practically mean? According to the Mahar Blach and the Pri Chadash, it probably means that at the Shabbos meal, not only did you eat chulent and kugel, but you also probably had wine to get a little more intoxicated than usual. What's the machlokes at the end of the day? I believe the Korban Netanel brings a beautiful interpretation. He basically says that when you make a Seudah, anytime, and it's an obligatory meal, you have to make it nikar. You have to make it clear and coherent to the bystander that that meal is in honor of the event for which you're doing it. The problem is you can't exactly do that with the Purim Seudah on Shabbos, because on Shabbos anyway we eat meals. We don't just eat breakfast. We eat real big meals with challah and kiddush, exactly like the Purim Seudah. So it wouldn't be nikar, it wouldn't be clear that you're eating a meal in honor of Purim. Therefore, he says you can give shalach manos on Shabbos, because that's for sure for Purim. We never give shalach manos on a Shabbos. But a meal is problematic, because a meal you anyway eat on Shabbos, and not just any meal, a big meal. And obviously the Mar Blach probably says, who cares if it's nikar, not nikar? At the end of the day, the sages said to eat a meal, you're eating a meal. You can call it a meal for Shabbos and Purim. You can call it this, that, or the other thing. At the end of the day, you're eating a meal. You don't have to put a big sign that says it's a Seudah. So at the end of the day, I believe these two Gdolei HaPoskim have one machlokes, and that is indeed the Seudah of Purim have to be clear and coherent that this is a meal in honor of Purim, or that's not so important. The most important thing is that you're eating the meal. So, as we finish the laws of Purim and we get into the next holiday, I believe it's great that we're ending on the point of view of food, because indeed the Ramah ends the laws of Purim with the words Tov Lev Mishte Tamid. It's always good to be in a jolly mood, and it's always good to be in a jolly mood that's connected to food. So indeed, this concludes our Purim Shiurim, and Mirza Hashem, as we get closer down the line, we will now transfer to the next holiday.
ליהודים, ליהודים, אוי סוידו, ושמחו וששון ביקור.